Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Chamber of the Wraith. My name is Brian, and tonight we're going to be tackling the first DLC character since freaking Fujin! Yes! For whatever reason, I get why I ignored the guests. Save them for last, because I mean, you want to learn about the guests, you're going to have to get to the last bits of the videos, and this is a Mortal Kombat game, and I understand. But, for some reason, for some unknown reason, I never touched Nightwolf. I never touched Sindel. Well, okay, Sindel is understandable because Sindel is evil in this game, and I do not like that. But I'm pretty sure the last DLC character I touched was Fujin. I'm just looking at the list right now. Yeah, the last DLC character I touched was Fujin. And Fujin's video came out 3 months ago. 3.5 months ago, give or take. Ridiculous. Anyhow, let's talk Sheeva. And we're gonna have a blast with this lady, because this lady is one of my personal favorite characters in Mortal Kombat 11. And it's not just because she's a four-armed giant Amazonian woman who wallops people left and right. She actually is a really cool grappling archetype with all kinds of neat tools that they gave her in order to mollywop opponents in ways that, admittedly, can be pretty frustrating every once in a while. But before we get into that, we're going to go straight into competitive variations as per usual. And we're going to, of course, set up all of the blocking shenanigans and what have you. So we're going to go in, set up the block and auto block shenanigans, and we are going to talk about Sheeva. And we're going to, again, start with normals that do not go into any sort of strength. So anything that has a combo extender, or anything along those lines, you will not be seeing in this portion of the video. And I'm actually going to take a quick honorable mention here, because for whatever reason, despite her basically being a grappler, Sheeva doesn't have any way to crushing blow throw. She doesn't have any crushing blow throws. I don't understand how that's even possible for this character. Anyway, short hammer, 7 frame down 1, not the best range. She kind of has the Nightwolf problem where she has kind of stubby buttons. And that goes for Rising Dragon. Look at this uppercut. Look, like, I just hit him at that range. Most characters can hit their uppercuts from about this range. Sheeva may not. And, of course, there's crushing blow throws for combos. But, seriously, this is one of the stumpiest uppercuts in the entire game. I think Jackie's even has more range, and it's legendarily stumpy. Then we have Big Leg, which is a 14 frame high, -5 on hit. On hit, this attack is -5. You are better off having the opponent block this thing. Don't use Big Leg. Then there's Shokan Stomp, which is a pseudo command grab type dealy. This is a big overhead that kind of acts as an auto combo. And if this stuffs a low or ducking attack, you get a crushing blow for 290 damage. Not bad at all. Then there's Kwaton Kick, which this is the 3 button you should be pressing if you want a high. It's 19 frames, but it launches for combo potential. And I think you can loop it? No, I'm thinking in Variation 3 with the Death March, but you could do this and go for things that you can do. Let's do a smash and grab thing. Look at how easy that was. And I got 30% out of it for 1 bar. Not bad. And then we have Crushing Backhand. Yes, this is her down 3. She uses one of her lower arms to wallop you. And this is -4 on block. Before I forget though, Shokan Stomp is -5 on block. So it's not a turn recovery thing. Kwaton Kick is -9. It's punishable if they block this. But as a high, they could just uppercut punish this thing. And finally, we have her standing 4s. Kintaro Kick is a 12-frame high that also launches, but it's a special cancel launch. It's not a true launch, so you do this and then maybe go for Fireball or something. Then you have Sweeping Shield, which is her sweep. 15 frames, it advances really well, and it's -5. Standing 4, by the way, is -2. Then you have Disrespect Kick, which is a really stumpy down 4. It's almost hilarious how stumpy this is. And on block, this button is -3. Now, we need to very quickly talk about her jump attacks, wake up attacks, and those sorts of things. So we are gonna, and hop attacks, that was the other one. Then do these. So first up, I'm gonna have Nightwolf do this. And then that, okay, 1 is to block. And then 2 is that. 3 is... Oh, I didn't record 2. I must have recorded over 1 by mistake. So 2 is going to be the block. And then 4, I don't think we need to do. So first off, Sheeva has a wake up grab. This is not a true grab, so you don't have to worry that Sheeva has the best wake up in the game. It's 90 damage, it leaves the opponent at +15, and it's -7 on block. So this is technically safe. But you can't catch people who are jumping, that makes sense. Then there's Battlecry, which can catch jumpers, no problem. But it has a very vertical hitbox. In fact, such a vertical hitbox that I was actually worried that it wasn't going to land. Battlecry is -12. I have to go for something else after that, maybe. I'll figure something out, because I can never seem to get this string into this in a juggle, even though it's like my favorite thing to do with this character. One of them. Then we have her short hop attacks, which we need to go back to block. Very short range. 9 frame, but it advances quite a bit. I can come in and whop you with this. And on block, it's -12. Also, before I forget, wake up attacks. -12 on the headbutt if you flawless block this thing, and it's just -12 across the board. And then you have hard heal, which is 11 frames, but has very similar range to Shokan Slam because Shokan Slam advances. So pick and choose whichever one you want. I would personally go for Shokan Slam just because it's 9 frames instead of 11 frames, you know what I mean? Now for the jumping attacks, we have straight hammers, double dragon fists, and queen kick. All of these are really good for intercepting characters on the ground, but not so good for catching opponents that are airborne. So bear that in mind. Now let's talk combos. Sheeva has quite a surprising amount of combo strings, so be ready for a whole lot of trouble if you're going to go against this character. 7 strings, here we go. First up is Deadly Kwatan, which knocks the opponent down, does pretty decent damage, and funnily enough, is 4 hits because of those extra Shokan fists. The middle of the string is -4, the jab is -4, and then there's a flawless block gap for Deadly Kwatan that leaves her -6. And it's just -6 in general, so not the best string in the world, but it is an 8-frame punish, so you could go do this, do a combo, punish the opponent, that kind of thing. Then you have Queen of the Shokan, which is an advancing 12-frame mid. Not her best mid, mind you, but an advancing mid is always a good thing to have. You have to dial in the middle and then hit the end whenever you would like. This is 4 hits, does decent damage, and it doesn't launch so much as it knocks back. And look at the distance that you have. She can actually do pretty well at this range if the opponent has inferior zoning or, you know, this attack, which we'll talk about later. Then we have the block data. There's a flawless block gap in the middle that leaves the string at -7. But if she goes to the full string and you don't flawless block this thing, it's actually -2, so it's very safe. Centurion Hunter comes off of a 16 frame mid and is a fairly damaging option, and usually something I would like to see more people use to extend combos, because it extends combos, it lets you get fairly close, and most importantly, because it does 50 damage, which is fairly high, instead of 30 damage or 30 damage this way, you actually have a pretty respectable incoming damage option for damage because of how combo scaling works in this game. Then you have Slam Dance, which I'm willing to bet you will almost never see the full string. Although the launch is -10 in the middle, you can go to the backhand to be -5. So this is where committing can actually save your bacon. But 9 times out of 10, you go for the special cancel. 9 times out of 10, you go for this because of course you would. This helps with your combos. See? And then Heir to the Throne is very similar to Queen of the Shokan in that it's a 4-hit string, but it starts with a double hit that is mid overhead. So the first hit is not an overhead, but the second hit is. Then you dial in the middle, and then you go for a 4th overhead to finish it off. Or you use this to end combos on the ground. And of course, you also have Ruthless Shokan, which is an option to help keep you safe, because you have to be mindful you're -6, but there's a huge flawless block gap in there that leaves Sheeva at -11. Or you could just go for this, which leaves her -6 and doesn't have a flawless block gap. So you can catch somebody trying to potentially go for flawless block, or just keep yourself safe-ish, unless you're against Raiden, mind you. Then we have, finally, Goddess of Destruction. A 10-frame mid that sends the opponent back. And while it has relatively short range, a 10-frame advancing mid can make for some really good conversions. And speaking of conversions, now we got to talk about special moves. And we're going to start with the universals. And that is going to include regular drag and drop. So first up, we have Shokan. Actually, hold on a second. I don't think any of these strings have crushing blows. Let me just make sure. Yeah, no. So none of Sheeva's strings have crushing blows. She has 2 normals that are crushing blows, but none of them are throws. Where are her crushing blows hiding? Generally, they're in her special moves, in which there are 2 that are universal. First up is the only universal special move that does not have a crushing blow. That is Shokan Flame. 70 damage, fairly high, fairly quick projectile. On Amplify, it's bigger, hits mid, and does 11% damage, which is actually not bad, because big damage, and then you knock them back, and then they think they might be able to zone you, and then you'll show them why that's a terrible idea. Then we have Untamed Fury. I've been ending a lot of my strings with this because this breaks armor and does more damage than an amplified Shokan Flame meterlessly. So, for instance, if I go for this string, that was supposed to be amplified fireball. There we go, that's 240. And I go for this string instead, I get a little more damage out of the deal, which could make the difference. And if I amplify, I apply a unique form of DOT that no other character, at least so far, because remember, Melina's coming, so she could very well have this sort of DOT, but Sheeva can apply relatively unique forms of DOT. If I go for Untamed Fury and then Amplify, Nightwolf is going to be bleeding. And look, and if I stand still, nothing seems to happen except I just took some damage because I stance switched. So what's the deal? The deal is, don't move. Look at all the damage I'm taking because I'm walking. Look at all that damage over time. That was almost 15%. Just by walking forward after I got hit with this thing. Like, watch. Goes from 841 all the way to 691. So that is, yeah, that's 15% all right. And what's more is it's not just walking backwards and forwards that is going to hurt you. Dashes hurt a little bit too, and so does jumping. If you move at all, if Sheeva puts the razors in you, it's going to hurt. The only exception being advancing attacks like advancing normals, advancing special attacks. Those are your best options. But you have to advance with a move, and a lot of advancing normals are unsafe. So Sheeva can take full advantage of this, block, and punish you for it, or scare you into such a situation because she gets pretty good Oki out of this. Scare you into a position where she can come in and throw you, which is not something you want to have happen to you, trust me. And of course, she can also scare you into this attack, the Dragon Drop. At 65 frames, this is one of the slowest moves in the game, but the benefit is that it's completely unblockable, and people have a ridiculously hard time dealing with this move, especially in the lower rungs of Combat League. This thing is a scrub killer, as a certain underdog once described it. Although I don't like to use the term scrub personally. Point is, if you're not ready for this thing, it's going to hurt. And yes, you're only getting 10% damage out of it. Unless this lands 3 times without missing. It doesn't have to be 3 times in a row, but it just has to be 3 times without missing. And now it's loaded. Technically, you only have to do it twice, because if the 3rd one lands, then it works. But if you fail, then you have to reset. But now it's reloaded. I knock you back, +1 because Amplify is also plus. I forgot to mention that. I throw you away. You try for projectile. I get the 3rd Dragon Drop, and I miss the Amplify because you have to Amplify for Crushing Blow. That's more damage than a forward throw. Oh, and I forgot to mention one other thing. Than a Crushing Blow throw. I forgot to mention 2 things. Untamed Fury is -14 on block, so do not, whatever you do not end it with Untamed Fury. End it in Shokan Flame, especially if it's amplified. You're +1. But if the opponent breaks away, because fun fact, Untamed Fury breaks armor, or this attack punishes, big boy Crushing Blow damage. And like I said, this thing can beat breakaway. So we can do something like, let's try it late. Catch him out of that. Look at that, 482. And even if we go fast, and let's say get an uppercut out of it, because that's our gold standard, right? Our gold standard is 280 this way. 463. And of course, that's just the one-time use of the Crushing Blow. If you break armor again, mash Amplify, get more damage, and look at that, Stomp City. And if you had that Crushing Blow loaded up, guess what? Now the opponent's also 3/4 dead. Almost. Or 2/3. 2/3 to be more accurate to say. Now we need to talk about the unique things about this special attack and about these moves. And there is quite a bit to talk about because first up, let's get the bottom out of the way. Dragon Drop gets augmented in Smash and Grab in a couple of different ways. One, I can choose where to go. In front of you, behind you, or just do nothing and just drop onto your head. And what's more, I can delay it with stance switch up to 30 frames longer. So I can delay, release. I got it about midway through. Maybe you were expecting a full delay. And then I caught you this way. So Stomp becomes scary if you are inexperienced, don't know how to handle the stomp attack, and are just generally in trouble. Now, I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to take a little bit of time to make this a little bit longer because I want to show you one of the best counters to stomp in general. It's a character, she's a character I picked up fairly recently, but she is godlike against Sheeva stomps. But anyways, other than that, drag and drop remains the same. But it has a cousin, Tremor. 46 frames, so it's quite a bit quicker. But it's an unblockable low full screen projectile that can be amplified to do even more damage. And of course, knock the opponent back all the way, and then you can fake them out with a stomp because they might think you're going to go for, or fake it into Tremor. If you do this and you land the Tremor, I missed it on purpose, and then let's say you knock them back, and then you're gonna go for another stomp. Just kidding, it's Tremor. It doesn't do a lot of damage, so that's the nice thing about these unblockables. They don't actually do a terrible amount of damage, but I can't imagine it's not. But it's definitely not nice to get walloped by unblockables all day. Okay, Beast Guy, that was just rude. And finally, we have Shokan Snag. All three of the abilities here are unblockable, so we don't need to talk about block data. Also, I just realized I could basically walk Nightwolf out of his little God Ray thing. That's hilarious. Anyway, so Shokan Snag. What is it good for? Catch an airborne opponent and your combos, for instance. Or you can amplify it and get a combo extension. So we can do uppercut. Did a little too late. Do this. Go for this. And look at that, that's 44% plus the potential damage over time that you are accruing. Now, here's the thing about Shokan Snag. There is another Shokan Snag that you can do. Wait, what? Why is there two amplifies? Oh, I see. That's for Tremor, actually. Tremor has a second amplify, I forgot to mention, because what are you going to do with a low projectile? Jump over it, right? But I could catch you with this, or I can catch you by up-amplifying into Shokan Snag, catching you. Shokan Snag by itself has a crushing blow, but it's a little bit funky. The previous attack that was connected has to be a regular Shokan Snag, meaning that I have to, just for the sake of demonstration, do that, then wait for the opponent to be launched, and then go for this. So this is completely illegal. In order to get Nightwolf to actually basically come at me and do this, I have to legally let this rock normally, and then wait for a jump, go for this, and then there you go. But here's the problem with that. If you amplify once, you can't amplify again. Or rather, you can, but it doesn't do anything. It leaves the opponent on the ground. With a crushing blow that has such a Byzantine requirement, I would personally prefer it if you were allowed to basically amplify it to launch again, so that you can maximize the potential of this. But that's neither here nor there. Let's talk variation 2, Deadly Dragon, which is my personal favorite variation for Sheeva. And that's because of the shield. This gets 2 new crushing blows, and we're going to start with the first one, Shield Toss. This replaces the Shokan Fireball and can't be amplified, but instead, it's a raw mid. So it's always a mid, and you're trading some damage for that. However, if you let it rock, it becomes 70 damage, and the fire destroys projectiles. And if this destroys a projectile on its way in, hello, Kotal Khan. That's basically what this is. So if you use this in a similar fashion to Kotal Khan's thing. You have to wait, though. You have to wait at least 50 frames for this to become Crushing Blow capable. So slower projectiles are better, like Kotal Khan's Sun Disc. And then you can whop them for some damage. Then you have Dragon Charge. This is an advancing mid with respectable range. It's active for 11 frames, and look at that. It hurts. However, on block, it's minus 19. Basically, it's unsafe. On amplify, minus 13. Still unsafe. So why would you amplify? Launcher. See what I mean? So what I can do is I can start a combo on the ground and then get some damage. So I can do this, one, and then get some decent damage, or if I actually was smart, get some really nice damage out of it that way. The trick is that you don't really get enough time to recover from this if you're going to do it twice, outside of maybe in the corner with a poke, and I'm gonna lab that right now. Yeah, so if you do something like and that didn't even work because I'm pretty sure I applied too much gravity. So the only way you're gonna get this kind of double shield shenanigans thing to work is this way, with a quick down one to finish up the combo. But that's not to say that Dragon Charge is bad. No, no, no. If you can use this as a combo extension, and that's going to be important because of Spinning Dragon, which starts high and ends mid for pretty decent damage, although it is minus 13 on block, so it's not safe at all. On Amplify, however, the attack is minus 2, and I don't believe has a flawless block gap in it. I don't need jump back, I need flawless. Thank you. Oh, there is a flawless block gap, though. There, and it leaves her minus 7, so never mind what I just said. But this is a crushing blow. If you land 3 amplified spinning dragons during the match, so I land 2 of these, and then I go in, do a thing, and then I want to wait for my meter to come back, so I start throwing the opponent, because Sheeva's throw animations take a while. Maybe I forward throw again. Boom! Meter's charged. Now, I go for this. Damage. And remember, because this can be stacked, you can get really good damage. If I didn't drop forward 1. Hold on. Hey, thank you. Oh, come on. There you go, 41%. It did require 2 bars and a crushing blow, but hey, that's damage for you, right? And even if that's not what you wanted, you could just do a hit confirm into it for okay damage. You get the idea. Now we finally move on to the most complex variation, Mean Queen. And this one is my least favorite. Not to say that it's bad. There's actually quite a bit I like about this variation. It's just I have gripes with it, if that makes any sense. Yeah, and then there's a way Queen's Punishment, but you can't amplify it, so I'll demonstrate that later. First, we have Death March, which is Big Boot. The Big Boot... why is he not blocking? Oh, that's right. I have to reset this every time. Is +4. It's a high, but it's +4. So you could go... Oop. Do that. They block. Maybe they were expecting an overhead. Now Sheeva's +4, which means her throws are effectively 6 frames, which means they are basically unbeatable in this game. You can cancel by pressing backdash at any time, leaving you able to throw. fairly easily as well. Hurts a lot, but that's not all. You can also amplify by holding X and pressing down while releasing it to get Shokan Stomp. And yes, this does have the same crushing blow requirement as the normal Shokan Stomp, which is, of course, beating a low or ducking attack. Then you have Kwaton Kick. This is indeed the same as Forward 3, which launches. Very good to know. And you can extend the march by holding 3 as you're running in. And you get a crushing blow from this thing if Sheeva has run at least 2 steps. 1, 2, 1, 2. Has to be 2 full steps. And to show that point, I'm actually going to turn off easy crushing blows. Just for a little bit. 1, 2. There you go. General rule of thumb, 75 frames is how long you need to hold that down in order to get the crushing blow. I think it's actually 70, but it's a lot easier to say 75 because try timing it for 70 frames, you might end up with 69. Nice, but then won't get the crushing blow. Not that you'd ever see this thing. Who's gonna sit there and let an attack rock for 75 frames in order to get hit? This is only something you should be seeing if an opponent wants to give you a crushing blow finish. But Death March has its benefits. If you go... I know you can do this twice. Oh wait, hold on. That's what it is. You have to do standing 4. So, jump in standing 4 thing. And then go for whatever you want, which I think I'll just go for Fireball at the end of that one, so. Go for jump and kick thing. And that misses, but you can still see the damage potential there. And then you have Battle Scars, which was what I just did before. This is considered a throw, but it's actually overhead only. So this will only ever hit ducking or launched opponents. And if you amplify it, you get a pretty good launch. So you'll be using this as a combo extender. But because this replaces Untamed Fury, Mean Queen Sheeva does not have an armor break option, meaning that breakaway is a lot stronger on this version. Then you have Queen's Punishment, which, as I mentioned, has an away variant and a normal variant. This is a low, a true low, not an actual like low grab. So this helps complement Battle Scars because this is unblockable but has to hit a ducking or launched opponent, whereas Queen's Punishment is a true low, allowing you to side switch. And if you amplify Queen's Punishment, guess what? Now the opponent is bleeding again, just like if you had Untamed Fury. So she's not without her ability to cause the DOT for moving option, but she is without armor break in this variation. So what you can do is oh, I know what will, though. No. It's going to be forward 1 in there. Throw him back in the corner. Boom! 35% and I've begun recovering meter. So that is the 3 variations of Sheeva in a nutshell. But we're going to move on to our final variation. Our final thing to show off, which is her Fatal Blow, which is quite a unique kettle of fish. By the way, my personal variation for Sheeva, not only Amazonian, but it is actually variation 2, so the more you know. But if you want to talk special moves, you got to talk about Battered and Broken, which I'm pretty sure is the name for Kung Lao's Fatal Blow as well. Anyway, this thing hits 4 times. And has an overhead midway through. It's the 3rd hit. It's the 3rd hit of this that is an overhead. So once you see the first hit connect, just stand block. You'll be fine. And if you're wondering what the block data is for this thing, well, I'm pretty sure she's plus, but let's just make sure. Okay, she is definitely not plus. I don't know why I thought that, but she's minus 26, actually. So, don't forget to be awesome, my friends. See you guys on the other side, and I'm going to be doing a Sheeva Fatal Blow combo for you guys, as per usual. Toodaloo!